Hey everybody, Josh here, and today I'm going to take you on a tour of this 2022 Ford Transit Connect camper van. This video is sponsored by Aura. More on them in just a bit. Now, a few things I want to mention before we jump into the tour. First, down below in the description, you're going to find links to a bunch of the products that you're going to see throughout this tour, as well as a link to my website where you can find more information on builds, build plans, contact info, and so on. I'll quit rambling and I'll jump behind the camera and we'll get started. So like a lot of the other tours, we're going to start on the outside. And one of the first things you're going to notice up on the roof is this awning. Now this is about 6 feet in length, and I want to say it extends out away from the van, maybe 6 to 8 feet, give or take. Don't quote me on that. Now this awning is mounted to some crossbars that you also notice the kayak mounts are mounted to. And then up there in the middle is the MaxxAir fan. This has both intake and exhaust. And again, you can find the model linked down in the description. The last thing on the outside here that I'll point out is down here, you'll see that there's actually a shore power plug just behind this rear wheel. And that runs through the inverter that we will get to in just a little bit. Now we'll make our way over to the front door, which is actually on the driver's side this time. Now for anyone that has seen any of the other builds, you'll notice that this layout is actually flipped. A lot of times the front door is on the passenger side, but this time it's on the driver's, so you can quickly hop out of the front seat and into your camper. We'll start up here on the left. Up above the two front seats, there's a pretty good sized kind of open storage cubby. It utilizes the factory shelf that comes in these Transit Connects and then just extends forward a bit for additional storage. Then you'll see the curtains here that just serve as sort of a divider between the cab and the camper. And then working our way down right up here at the front, sort of almost what I want to call a nightstand, also doubles as storage for the portable toilet. Now this door just flips up, slides back into the cabinet. Then you can access the toilet by sliding it out onto the floor, making it very easy to remove from the van. And of course, just tucks back into the cabinet. The door swings down and latches shut. Moving further into the van, we have this bench style cabinet. This is just a general storage cabinet. It's a pretty big space, and it also features a lock just for storing any valuables. You'll also notice a bit of ductwork that hooks up to a vent at the front of the cabinet here, because this van actually has a diesel heater inside of it. Now the heater is actually mounted below the floor, and when you're all done, you can just close up the lid and then pop that cushion back into place. Up over on the far end there, you'll notice both a battery monitor as well as the control unit for the diesel heater. If I back up out of the van here, we'll move on to the driver's side of the van. Up top here, we have a small storage cabinet that has some LED lighting, and that's what the on-off switch here is for. And below that, we'll go through some of the features of the sink cabinet. Over on this end here, you're gonna find several different controls. The first is the on-off and dimmer switch for the ceiling lights. Then you have some 12-volt accessory plug-ins, USB ports, as well as your sort of standard 3-prong household outlet. Now this runs off the inverter. And next to that is the on-off for the inverter. And then down below is actually a small little 12-volt fridge. If I undo this latch, you can slide the fridge open. You have access to the controls and of course the lid to get at all the goodies. Now I'm sure I'll get it in the comments, but the reason that the lid hinges this direction is because the plug-in for the fridge is at the back on that side. So to keep the cable management somewhat tidy, the lid ended up hinging this direction, so when inside the van you do have to reach over to grab what you need, but if you're entertaining, then it's pretty easy access from outside of the van. And when you're all done, you can just close up the lid, slide that back into place, and then just as a good safety measure, you can latch that so that way this doesn't come sliding out if you are driving and hit the brakes. I'll hop over to the back of the van now and we can finish going through this sink cabinet. But real quick, I want to talk about this video's sponsor, Aura. They provide protection in a digital world that keeps you and your family safe. As much as you want to think your info isn't out there, trust me, it is. Everywhere. Data brokers sell all of your info, like your full name, your address, phone number, health records, and so much more. And guess who buys it? All those little scammers and spammers out there. We hear all the time on the news about a company that had their system hacked and lost a ton of customer data. AT&T revealed over 73 million customer records, both current and former, were lost. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and even consider credit freezes or fraud alerts. Now, I don't really have time to do all that, but Aura does. They also protect me from hackers that try to access my social media, like this YouTube account, my bank accounts, and all kinds of other sensitive info. I also don't want to use multiple apps just because a company can't keep my data safe. Aura keeps me safe all within one app. If my info is compromised by the AT&T data breach, or one of the many others we hear about, I don't have to worry. Aura is always on and working 24/7. So go to aura.com/JoshOakes to start your 2-week free trial, or click the first link down in the description to get started. Now let's get back to the tour. Over at this end, you can get another look at that upper storage cabinet. It's pretty low profile, but a little bit of additional storage space. Back at this end, you'll notice the undermount sink, which allows you to use this plug to fill the opening, giving you a little bit more surface area to work with. If I pop that out, you can move on to the faucet. Now, because this faucet features a gooseneck, you can actually extend that out and mount it on the outside of the van using this little magnetic clip. Then you can click on the sprayer nozzle, and it sort of doubles as almost like an outdoor shower. Down in front here, you're going to see the on-off switch for the water pump. That's just going to allow you to use the faucet. Over at that end of the cabinet are 2 drawers, both just general storage drawers. However, the top drawer doubles as a desk or just an additional surface area. There's a panel that can fit in place when you extend the drawer all the way out. And then because it bumps up against the cabinet itself and the back of the drawer front, it holds itself in place without closing on you. Then when you're all done, you can just pop the panel out, close the drawer, and all the drawers in this van are secured in place using these little latches, just to try to prevent anything from opening up when you're driving down the road. At the back end of this cabinet is sort of all the plumbing components. You'll find the water pump down here along with the freshwater tank. Now, this van does not have a gray water tank, it just has a discharge hose where the water will drain out the bottom of the van. The fresh water is on a disconnect, so you can quickly remove the tank, take it to the water source and fill it, and then bring it back and reconnect it. There's a little bit of extra room down here for maybe some additional storage, but for the most part, all the plumbing components take up this cabinet. You can swing that shut. The doors are all mounted on soft close hinges, and like in a lot of the other van builds, there are leather handles on all the cabinets. I do offer these on my website. They come in 5 packs. And because leather is soft, it just makes a good option for these smaller spaces, just to prevent any sharp corners to bump into when you're moving about inside the camper. And finally, moving over to the bed cabinet. This bed cabinet features an extension that allows you to take the backrest and fit it into the opening here, creating a larger sleeping area. And then it features some storage down below. Now, I actually offer build plans for a version of this bed cabinet, also available on my website, if you are interested in trying to build something like this for yourself. So underneath this bed cabinet is actually where the inverter is stored. And so up at the front there, what looks like a drawer is actually just a flip down door to kind of a unique little storage cubby, just trying to make some use of the space around that inverter. And down there in the middle is actually a vent, and that's just to help with airflow because the inverter is tucked inside of this cabinet. And then up here at the front is just a big old drawer. Again, general storage, not designed for anything in specific, but utilizing the rest of the space available below the slide out bed. And if I tip this cushion back, there's one last little cubby tucked inside this, I don't know if you'd call it a knee wall, but I was able to sneak this cubby in above the wheel well. And then the last little bit of butcher block to top it off. If I back up here, we can cover the rear doors real quick. Swapped out the factory panels for some matching wood panels, and then I was able to sneak a little storage cubby in the cavity of this door. And before I forget, up at the top on the ceiling, you can take a look, you'll see the tongue and groove, along with those LED puck lights, as well as the bottom side of that MaxxAir fan. So finally, I'll move over to the slider door on the passenger side to go over some of the electrical components. So over here is where you're going to find access to all of your fuses, along with the charger. Now this is set up at the moment for just charging while you're driving. You may have noticed there are no solar panels up on the roof, but this does allow for solar panel hookup in the future. Below that is just a little Bluetooth monitor that lets you get some information via the mobile app. And down there on the right is the main shutoff switch from the house battery. Now this camper runs off of a 200 amp hour lithium battery that is also stored below the floor. And lastly, back here, you'll notice the fuel tank. Now this is for that diesel heater I mentioned earlier. It's a pretty small tank, and so in an attempt to try to make it a little bit easier, I just added this little inline quick connect so that way you could remove the tank, fill it outside of the van, hopefully not make too much of a mess, and then secure it back in place when you're ready to go. And up here in the front by the passenger seat, you're gonna notice this platform. Now I've built these in other vans. It's essentially just an additional storage surface that fits the profile of this space here, and it's supported up here in the corner by this almost like a kickstand, but it does give you access to add a little bit more storage below this panel. I think that's going to do it for this tour. Hopefully I didn't miss too many things. If I did, or if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment down below, and I'll try to get back to as many people as I can. Again, down in the description, you're going to find links to a bunch of the products that you saw throughout this tour, as well as the link to my website. Thank you so much for taking the time to check this van out, and I'll see you in the next one.